That's a radical idea, right? When was the last time you heard that Trump arrested and charged 6 journalists with felony rioting? Who talked about that? Did CNN talk about that? Did MSNBC talk about that? Did you talk about that? Nobody talks about it. And the fact of the matter is Trump attacks Democrats 4 times as hard.
What's going on, you guys? Today we have Kyle Kulinski completely mogging Piers Morgan. Piers is at a loss for words. Kyle Kulinski is advocating for the truth. He is advocating for what's right, and we have Piers dead in his tracks. Piers Morgan does not know actually what to say at a certain point. Kyle Kulinski, Piers Morgan, let's get into it.
Sides. But this whole woke ideology, I don't mean the original woke ideology of raising awareness for racial and social injustice. I mean the way it's become a kind of new form of fascism, where the far left just basically want to cancel, shame, and humiliate absolutely anybody who disagrees with them about anything. Do you accept that that has become a problem, a stick to beat the party with, which actually really damages them electorally?
No, I think Kamala ran basically the platonic ideal of a non-woke Democratic campaign. She never mentioned race. She never mentioned gender. She never mentioned trans people. She never mentioned pronouns or Latinx or cancel culture. She repeatedly stressed that she was going to represent all Americans. She ran to the right on the issue of the border. She talked about owning a gun. She ran on freedom and patriotism. And so when you put all that stuff together, I simply don't know what people are talking about when they say she's
Well, they're talking about her record.
Those things at
well,
all.
hang on. They're talking about her record as vice president of the Biden administration, where they never stopped talking about this stuff for nearly 4 years. So you could pretend when you get the nomination, whoa, I'm a centrist and I'm a gun-toting Rambo, by the way, as well, to all you Second Amendment people. But actually, if you judge her on what she said and did in 4 years, she was a progressive left person. And to pretend otherwise...
We have Piers right here just throwing and immediately walking back from his argument where he said, oh, do you think, just a common left argument that they all hate each other, that they don't stick together, that they're not unified. And then Kyle immediately disbands that by saying she wasn't for all of these divisive things. She wasn't for these things that were put in place to get everybody, she was wanting to unify the people, completely disregarding everything Piers just said. Piers is going to continue to spit this man-baby babble that he loves to say.
To just ignore what went on in that period.
What I'm much more concerned about is not Democrats being woke or Democrats censoring speech. I'm much more concerned about Trump's record on those things. So, for example, Trump said he wants to punish flag burning with a year in jail. That's against the First Amendment. He sued CNN for $475 million for calling election denialism the big lie. Before he was president, he sued Bill Maher for $5 million over a joke. He said he wants to open up the libel laws. He called for jailing journalists who report on the Supreme Court abortion ruling early before the decision.
How many of those things did he do in his first term?
Pro-Palestine protesters.
How many of those things did he actually do in his first term? Because it seems to me another problem, and he does this brilliantly, by the way, with the left. He sucks you in because he just shoots them a hip and he says stuff that crosses his mind or whatever. And rather than pick him off on stuff he actually does, you all go completely nuts every time he opens his mouth and says something a bit crazy. And if I was advising the Democrats, I'd be like, stop doing this. You're literally playing into his trap every time you do this. Just pick him off on the stuff he actually does. Then you got a better chance.
Right.
By the way, you guys, if you like the video, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more.
I'll do that. Here, ready? He gag ordered the EPA from telling the truth on climate change. That's deeply anti-free speech. He arrested and charged 6 journalists with felony rioting. He did not pardon Assange. He did not pardon Snowden. He did not pardon Daniel Hale. He wanted to invoke the Insurrection Act to deploy the U.S. to deploy our own troops against George Floyd protesters. These are all things that are actually on the record, things he actually did. And the thing that I find incredibly frustrating is that nobody talks about it. Trump magically gets a pass for things he actually did.
He doesn't get
Democrats
a pass.
Get held to a super high standard.
Come on, he doesn't get a pass.
How many times have you heard people say those things I just told you? Wait.
Hang on. Let me answer you. Trump
has
had the most unrelentingly hostile media from a mainstream media that is largely staffed by liberals. We know this because the way they all go.
I don't even agree. I don't even know if Piers agrees what he's talking about. Piers Morgan is such a liar. He builds these mountains out of molehills. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, they don't like Trump. My ass, they don't like Trump. Are you serious? Are you serious? The whole way that the media is even set up is so that Trump never loses. This whole thing that they're talking about right now, where, yes, the left, for sure, whatever you want to call the left, it's these people that are making these headlines, exaggerating this stuff that Trump is saying and Trump is doing so that he can get, let go, so that people can say, oh, he didn't really say that, and then they end up not even having that. They end up just brushing it off. And he's doing these things that are crazy. Kyle Kulinski is about to get into it. That's just my 2 cents on it.
Nuts when their paper wouldn't come out and endorse Kamala and all resign, so they reveal their true colours. Cable news the same, MSNBC, CNN, you can fire a harpoon around their newsrooms and you wouldn't hit a conservative, right? So let's just get real about the way mainstream media is made up. I've worked in it, and there are very few conservatives, and that is part of the problem as well. And I just think that ultimately, if the Democrats are going to try and make themselves electable, they've got to move wholesale on now to a far more effective way of campaigning. And it can't just be every time Donald Trump speaks, mass hysteria, shaving your head, going on TikTok and posting videos of yourself screaming and saying you'll never have sex with a Trump supporter again. All this stuff is insane.
How about just telling the truth? Wait. How about just telling the truth? That's a radical idea, right? When was the last time you heard that Trump arrested and charged 6 journalists with felony rioting? Who talked about that? Did CNN talk about that? Did MSNBC talk about that? Did you talk about that? Nobody talks about it. And the fact of the matter is Trump attacks Democrats 4 times as hard as they attack him.
Yeah.
So if anything, the lesson to take away is the opposite. Democrats should get more arrogant, they should get more aggressive, and they should tell the truth more.
Come on, Kyle.
So there you have it, folks. We have Kyle Kulinski completely mogging Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan is even agreeing with Kyle Kulinski is saying. Nobody talked about whenever Trump had those journalists arrested. Nobody talks about that because they don't talk about what he's actually doing. They talk about these things that they can blow out of proportion and then make the left look crazy, so that they can gaslight the left into saying that, oh, you're making something out of a big deal. We're going to keep on doing what we're doing. By the way, let's not even pay attention to the truth that what's actually happening. He's arresting these journalists. He's doing these terrible things. Kyle Kulinski versus Piers Morgan. Kyle Kulinski completely tearing him down. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. See y'all tomorrow.